What's up, guys? Zoo back here once again in No Man's Sky, and today I'm going to do my best to make a very simple beginner's guide for new players who are just starting off in normal mode of No Man's Sky. Okay, so here we go. This is the first thing you're going to see when you start your game. You're essentially going to wake up on a random planet of some kind, and none of your equipment is going to work. So the first tasks that you're going to have to do is to repair your equipment so you can get off this planet. What I would tell you for this beginning part is to look at it as a tutorial. So here we go. We're on a planet. What do we do first? We take a look around. We could see that we're on a snowy planet, so this isn't the best, but there you go. Okay, do you see that pop up on the right? Perform a scan to find sodium. Okay, it says press C. We press C. The scanner's damaged. See, so that leads us to the next thing. So now we need to get 75 ferrite dust. Gather 75 ferrite dust for repairs. So ferrite dust, we go look around. If you mouse over rocks, it'll tell you what they are and what you will get from them. So you're going to start blowing up rocks to get enough ferrite dust like it's telling you. Now, this is a very basic example, but this is how the game is going to play for a good amount of hours. All right, so we got our ferrite dust. So now we can repair the scanner. Now, this is confusing, and I want to stop here for a moment because the way this game deals with inventory is quite odd. So here's our scanner. This is a piece of tech. We just repaired it. Now it works and we can use it. Before we scan, though, let's look at the inventory. Now, just so you know straight away, this you will get more inventory space than this. This is just how you start initially. But these spots, all these squares, you can store items in them. You can install tech in them as well. So that confused me a little bit. On PC, you press the E button to install tech. But that was confusing to me because, like, in this technology panel, you can only install tech. You can't drop things there, but then you got this cargo one where you can drop things. So it's a little weird like that. So I just wanted to show you that. So you do your scan. And that's going to send like a pulse over the planet, and it's going to show me that there's sodium here. Over there, you can see that H. If I put my mouse over it, says dihydrogen crystals. So now we're going to charge up our hazard protection using sodium. Now, there's different types of protection you're going to get on in your suit, right? And all of those require some fuel to fill up. So, you know, it'll tell you, like, you know, your radioactive protection might need uranium or ammonia. I forget which one. Toxic is ammonia, for example. So that's what a lot of these things do. They work as fuel. So you can see now. So now you'll see on the bottom right, I've gotten a signal. It says reach the marked signal. So we're just going to head towards that. And once again, this is a lot of what's going to happen through the early game. And when I say early game in No Man's Sky, I'm not talking 2 hours, 3 hours. I'm talking more like 40 hours. Seriously, maybe 50. Like, I think on my first playthrough, I was 50 hours in and still had no clue what I was doing. So that's why I'm making this video, to try and help some people out there. So not at this point, but a little bit later on in the game, you're going to start getting what I would call storyline content. Now, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't done it yet, so I'm not going to go into details. But the game is not just random going to planet. There is story and a good bit of story, and it's actually really well written. And I suggest everyone play through those storylines. But that's another thing in this game. You don't have to do any of this stuff it's telling you to do. I mean, this first beginning stuff, you'll never make it off the planet if you don't do it. So I guess you do have to do this stuff. But for the most part in this game, you do not have to do the things it tells you to do. So basically, we found the ship, and the ship is broken. And this is this is another tutorial type thing where it's going to show us how to make metal plating, and we're going to need to get a hermetic seal to repair this pulse engine. You see, we need a hermetic seal and we need metal plating. Now, those two items, they could be crafted or they can be bought at space stations, but you will be using those throughout the entire game. So here we go. Here are some instructions. Repair the pulse engine. So we need the metal plating. And the metal plating is 50 ferrite dust. We have 23. So you would go and you would blow up rocks until you have enough ferrite dust to make the metal plating. Now, shooting these little pebbles and stuff in the beginning can seem like, oh god, I don't know if I picked the right game. This seems pretty boring. However, this is not how the game stays. You won't be doing this, once you're 100 hours into the game, most likely. Okay, so now we have the 50. So what we can do in our inventory, we can select that spot, craft our metal plating. And if we click on the pulse engine, you can see it wants a metal plating, and we have that. So we're halfway there with the metal plating. Now let's wait for a few seconds. Starship partially compared. Consult ship diagnostics. Okay. Back in the ship. And what this is going to do now, it's going to point us to a hermetic seal. Now, hermetic seal is a very cheap item in this game, but it is used in a number of things. This game, the crafting, you need the blueprints first, and that's a big part of why you should follow what it says on the bottom right, because that's how you're going to find blueprints, and that is what is also gonna take you through building a base, building your first base, which is gonna be on this planet before you get off. But that's another thing. Let's talk about that for a second. Your base is not your home. Don't think of it that way. Basically, in this game, you're gonna have a lot of bases. I mean, I probably have around 20 for different reasons. Some are for fun, some are functional, some are like for farming. As I said, there's story content in this game, so that's gonna pop up for you, and those will show up in your log under your primary missions. And those are things, they're not one day things. They take some time. So while you're working on those missions, you'll have other side things to do. And, you could do things like build bases or just explore planets. Lots of different things. There's many, many different things to do in this game, and you play it the way you want to play it. And here we are. We made it. We made the run. And we're going to use this thing on the wall. And this is going to give us a hermetic seal. You should read all that stuff. I'm skipping through it, but we got our hermetic seal. Okay. So, as you can see, we don't know how to get back to our ship, because there is no map, right? So what we need to do is install the analysis visor. So we go here, push E on PC, And if we look at analysis visor, this needs 1 carbon nanotubes. So, okay. If we go to our exosuit and click in here, here's carbon nanotubes, and that takes 50 carbon. So basically now we need to go find carbon by shooting trees and things that, like this has, these plants have carbon, so we could shoot this stuff and get carbon. And this is gonna give us a HUD so we can see where our ship is. So we're not going to do the whole thing right now. And just so you know, on any kind of planet that has a bad atmosphere that's hurting you, very cold, very hot, poisonous, whatever, little shelters like this, you're totally safe in. So these can be a lifesaver. But that's really the early game. Everything is a tutorial. All you really need to do is follow the instructions on the bottom right. Now, what you're going to be looking at often is your log, because you're going to end up getting a lot of alerts, like to do this or that. So the way I did it really was I would just go through and be like, okay, what can I do now? What can't I do now? And do them like that. Now, the bigger story missions that are going to last for, hours and hours, multiple game sessions, many game sessions, those are going to show up under your primary missions. Again, you don't have to do any of this stuff except for these initial ones to fix your ship to get off this planet. But after you're off the planet, you really could just go explore and try and figure it all out on your own. I wouldn't suggest that, but you could. So the game doesn't tie you to anything. Doesn't make you go like, oh, you have to go to planet A first and then you can go to planet B. It's not like that. So you're going to be looking at the log quite a bit. So this is an important thing to know about, because you can easily lose track, especially if you're finding a lot of things, because everything you find in this is probably going to pop something up. It's going to tell you something about it. So yeah. So really, in a nutshell, the early game of No Man's Sky is survival and getting off this first planet. After that, there's guidance in your log, and that's what you should be following. If you're having problems with specific things like money and stuff like that, don't worry about it right away. There's a million ways to get super rich in this game. So I'm going to jump over to a different save of my late game, and we'll talk about that a little bit so I can show you what you're in for. And we're back at one of my bases. So this is late game No Man's Sky. This is one of my bases that I hang out at. But like I said, I have many, many bases in different galaxies, and yeah. So what I wanted to show you, though, is once you finish that story content I was talking about, the game really opens up. And at that point, it's make your own fun. Now, there's a number of things you can do in this game. There's a lot of milestones here you could try and knock out. You could see it, that was something I wanted to do. There's all these there's these 3 alien factions you can do missions for and max your standing with them. You make a lot of money doing these and get good items too. You got these different guilds. These are all up in the space stations. You can get missions from there. And then, so there's missions you can do. This game is multiplayer if you want. You could go to the space anomaly. Now, if you don't know what the space anomaly is, don't worry about it just yet. If you're playing the game, you will get to a point where you'll get to the space anomaly. And the space anomaly is basically a space station that anyone can go to, any player on any platform, so Xbox, PC, PlayStation, whatever. And in there, can group up with people. You can give items to other players. There's vendors for everything. You get a lot of blueprints for tech up there. And it's something you can summon in anytime you're in space. So anytime you're in space, you can summon this space station. And that's like the hub for the multiplayer. So aside from that, I mean, what could you do in this game? You know, it's endless. It's endless. I mean, every ship is almost different. That's a nice A-class ship. He just landed here at my base. I could buy that if I wanted. So you can go ship hunting. You can hunt for cool multi-tools. You know, there's lots of different multi-tools you can get in this game. Different tech layouts you can do. Now, you see all this tech. I mean, compare that to what we were running with, what I showed you when you first start the game. This is what it's going to look like once you open all your tech up. This is all just storage. That's my cargo. And this is all tech. And then these are cargo spots up here because I'm running quite a lot of tech. But this is so, you know, I got this stuff, which you'll come across. And all this stuff allows you to stay in those bad environments for even longer. And really, to be completely honest with you, death has never been a concern. Very few times. Maybe a couple times early in the game. But if you're playing on normal mode, it's not a very difficult game. You're not going to be dying a lot. This isn't Dark Souls, you know. It's like, it's kind of hard to die, I'd say, even. I mean, it does happen, but it's happened to me less than probably 5 times in 500 hours, I would say. Freighters. Do you see that massive ship up there with all those little ships? That's my freighter and my fleet. As you play through the game, you will get a free freighter at some point. I forget the exact point, but there is a point in the game where an event happens, and when you complete that event, you will get a freighter. Now, it might not be the best freighter in the world, and you'll probably want to upgrade it at some point, but that's another story. But you'll get one. And what the freighters do is allow you to store your ships. You can have up to 6 starships in this game that you own and can fly. So when you're out with one of them, the rest of them stay on your freighter. So that's one use for it. But the freighter can also be built on, just like a base. So, well, not exactly like a base. It doesn't have as many parts, building parts that you can use as the base. But what the freighter can do is, yeah, you can have it be a mobile base. I built all these rooms. These are command rooms for my fleet that I have out on missions. So I just send these ships out on missions and they come back with loads of loot for me. You could build cool rooms like this. This is a little sleeping quarters I built. And this is something that you should know. Because a lot of things in this game, they're not functional. There's no, like, this doesn't serve any use other than looking cool to me. You can't get in these beds or anything. You know, most of this stuff is just for looks. Like, you can't hang guns on this. This is just purely cosmetic. So the game does have a lot of things like that. What a lot of builders tend to do is use the pieces to make new things. Like, I made this, PC tower right here with a couple monitors out of another building piece and these fans. But so you can really get creative with it. If you like building things or you're a creative person, then that aspect of the game, I think you'd like a lot. There's a lot. I could go into freighters, and I could do a 20-minute video on freighters, but that's another part of the game. Working on your freighter, building it out as a base, upgrading it. The freighter upgrades similar to your starships and your suit. There's actually what's called derelict freighters that you can find out in space, and these are basically like space dungeons you can go through, and that's where you can find a lot of good upgrades for your freighters. And yeah, so this is just like a workroom I have built here. And all this stuff back here is extra storage. All these little glowing things, that's all storage lockers. One of the cool things in this game is with your storage lockers, you can name them. Like I have mine named, like this one's called Upgrade and Repairs. If I go to one of my other bases, anywhere I put a storage locker will have this same stuff in it. So it carries over everywhere. So it's really good. And with the freighter, you can just tab through all your storage. Nice. So these are my bases. There's a few. And here we are at my beach base. This is my dock here. And I figure we'll wrap it up here. But in closing, this is what you should be doing if you're new to No Man's Sky. You should be following along, like I said earlier, with everything that's in your log. You want to do everything that's in here. That's important. While you're doing that stuff, you need to go to the space stations in every new system you go to. Because in there's a guy who can open up a slot in your exosuit, which you're going to need. Every slot counts. Like, believe me, you're going to want to get these open as quick as possible. There's a few other ways to open them, but I'm just telling you the space station one for now. Go to the space station. The exosuit guy can unlock these for you. So, while you're going through doing these different missions it sends you on, make sure you're upgrading your suit and looking for upgrade modules. Also, you're gonna want to look for salvage data, which looks like this: buried technology module, right there. Or yeah, you see that? Looks like the Wi-Fi icon upside down. You want to dig up those whenever you see them. And you're going to be doing this for a long, long time because you need a lot of it. And the reason you need it is because, actually, do I even have any? I don't know. Okay, so that buried technology module, that's going to give you salvage data. And you need that because in the space anomaly, that's what you use to buy blueprints. And a blueprint for a building part, or a blueprint for a new engine for your ship or something like that. That's where you're going to get those. So when you're on planets, the main thing you should be doing, aside from whatever you're on that planet to do, is looking for salvage data. You see this? This here's an oxygen farm. So I never am going to run out of oxygen or carbon or condensed carbon, because anytime I need it, I can make that stuff from this oxygen. So you're gonna set up bases and build things like this. So like I said earlier, the game is not shooting rocks and doing that kind of mining. That's just in the beginning. Later, you will build things like that, like I showed you, and you won't have to bother with that. You'll grow plants like these, and you're not going to have to worry about doing too much, like going out and doing boring mining. That is just a temporary thing. And yeah, I guess that's about it. If anyone has any questions at all, please leave them in the comments. If you want me to do a video on a specific thing in this game that you just don't understand or you want to know more about, let me know. I would love to do a video for you. I hope this helps at least one person out there. If it does, feel free to give it a thumbs up. If it didn't help you at all, you can definitely give it a thumbs down. But leave a comment. Let me know what I could do better next time. And yeah, guys, I guess that's it. If you really like this, I would love it if you subscribe, but no pressure. All right, I will talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.